Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of the TaylorMade Love, Listings, and Legacy. I'm Donnell Taylor and this is
Lisa Taylor. I can't believe we're on episode 2 already.
It's episode 2 already. Just want to thank everybody for watching episode 1, and today we're going to go back a little bit and talk about one of the biggest things that happen a lot of times in real estate is more than likely most people have a full-time job before they go into real estate full-time. Liselle came from a full-time work environment and transitioned over into being a full-time agent, running a team, owning a brokerage, and all of that. So we'll get into how that started. So Lisa, if you don't mind, just take us back a little bit about how did it started from the time from episode 1 when we talked about you taking the test, you working, me going out to show houses, but that transition from the moment you went from full-time agent into, full-time employee into full-time agent, how was that?
Okay, so just to take y'all back a little bit, for those of you who did not know me back in the day, I used to be a senior accountant for a very well-known not-for-profit company. And when I got my license back in January 2012, I was still working full-time at this company. And while I was growing my business, I was actually a full-time senior accountant and a part-time realtor.
Not a part-time realtor.
Yeah, but even though I know, but I was going to say, technically speaking, there is no part-time realtor because running a real estate business is a full-time job. So taking y'all back, I'm going to talk about my brokerage, Keller Williams, because that's where I'm at currently. And I would work during the day and in the evenings go to all the amazing training classes that they offered. And I think that's what really helped me build my confidence. And those were actually the stepping stones into transitioning and preparing myself to be a true full-time real estate agent, meaning real estate would be my only source of income for now without the income from my full-time corporate America nonprofit job, right? All right, so with all the training and classes being offered, one of the things I love about Keller Williams is that they really teach you and train you in how to go after business. And I took full advantage of that. And I really went hard for my business in the beginning while I was doing real estate in the evening. So I'm going to fast forward. So I started in January 2012. And I would say January 2015 is when you and I kind of started having the conversation about if it's time for me to leave my job. And I remember I would look at you and be like, no, why am I leaving my job?
And then that process, how would that look though? You would go to work every day. You was doing real estate part-time, not part-time, but how that looked. So it just to kind of explain how that looked on a day-to-day basis.
How that looked. All right. So on my way to work is when I would call clients, to see if anyone was looking to buy or sell houses. So I was no longer listening to music and getting hyped up in the morning for work. I was actually on my way to work. I would be calling clients or people who had reached out to me who were interested in real estate. I would go to work, of course, do my job 9 to 5. And then I would say from 5:05 till 9 p.m. was strictly real estate. Whether I was at Keller Williams at training classes, whether I was out showing houses, or whether I was just meeting people who were getting ready to list their house for sale. So I would say 9 to 5 was my corporate America job, and 5:05 till about 10 o'clock was real estate. And one memory comes to mind is I'll never forget one night I fell asleep doing real estate in our home office, and you literally had to wake me up to go to bed. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember. And I think one of the things, like when we actually got to that point where we was going to say, all right, it's time to leave your job. Even though I said it was time to leave, she still was like, no, I ain't ready to leave. But here's one of the things that we looked at to make that decision, that the real estate income was equal or more of the amount of money she was getting paid on a full-time job. But, she doesn't like change that much. So she was like,
okay, we're not talking about change.
I'm not going. So when we finally came down to that decision, what was your thought and how was your process in that?
It was scary. I'm not going to lie. It was scary because I loved my job. I was one of those people. I actually loved my job. I had no issues at my job. And Donnell is correct. It started getting to the point where my real estate income was exceeding how much I was making at work. So that's what I was saying. January 2015 is when you started like having those conversations, because my business was growing. I was in demand a lot more. So it was getting a little bit, it was more of a challenge to just have clients in the evenings and weekends. Like I was starting to get clients who wanted to see houses during the day, and I couldn't do it because I was at work.
Neither could I. I wasn't even licensed at that time.
Yeah, you couldn't do it. So I think that's when the conversation happened. And what really pushed that decision, and I guess that is what you call divine intervention, is my company was about to go into a reorg.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And the package being offered, at that time I was at the company about 10 years. I was there about 10 years. And the package that was being offered was amazing. And I was like, God, is this you talking to me about leaving my job? So when the package came out, I looked at everything. I actually looked at the package. I looked at what we had in our savings. I also looked at my actual real estate business and what I had in the pipeline. And it was actually a no-brainer at that point. The reorg happened in April. I think my last day of work was April 15th, right, 2015.
But prior to that, let me give y'all an inside story on how that decision came really made, because she liked to go to Carnival, right? February was before April. So she wanted to go to Carnival, and they said, no, you can't take off to go to Carnival. So that added into her taking the package and saying, hell with it, I'm going to go real estate full time.
Why are you putting me out there?
Tell her story.
I mean, it's true. I am a Trini and I am an accountant, right? So it was the year end and books and numbers needed to be done. And all I had asked my job for was just a week off just to go to Carnival. Listen, if you know anything about West Indians, especially Trinis, you don't play with their carnival. So when they told me no, I was like, it's time to go. What you mean, no, I can't go to carnival? So Donnell is very correct. When the package came out and the fact you told me, no, I can't go to carnival, I was like, yeah, this ain't it. It's time for me to go out on my own and start, working for myself and building a team, building a business and all that good stuff. But I can't believe you really told that story. People don't want to know that.
It's always a driving force. So it was a driving force, and then also God showed up at the same time. So
He did. Thank you, Jesus.
February, Carnival, April,
told me no.
God, take the package and go. So you took the package. You now a full-time agent. Don't have to get up and go to work no more. What that look like? Because now, for 10 years, at a certain time, you had to be at a certain place to go and do a certain thing. And now,
it's all on me.
Fully
self-employed,
and it's on you.
Wow. Well, I have to be honest. The first 2 weeks after I left my job, I actually took a mini vacation. You don't know this, but you're going to find out now. While you were at work, and I was like, yeah, I'm out there getting business. I actually was sleeping till 12 o'clock. And I actually told Brenda this the other day. When I got up at 12, I would drive to Bethesda to go to iPic. For those of you who don't know me, I'm also a big movie buff. I love going to the movies. I like to go by myself. And I would go to iPic and look at the movies because I was just enjoying being free, because I've never not have to be somewhere at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like this was a whole big transition for me. So for the first 2 weeks, I played around, for lack of a better term. And then after a while, I was like, wait,
free.
I was free. But then after a while, I was like, listen, you didn't quit your job to just play around. But mind you, when I did quit my job, I did make sure we were financially secure, right? When I quit my job, I had just closed about 8 deals. I had just about 8 closings. For a total of, I think I have made about $30,000 total with those 8 closings. And then I had another 10 pendings, meaning I had people under contract who were either buying or selling a home. So we were financially secure, plus the severance package, which was an amazing package. So we were financially secure. And I think that's why I felt...
We'll talk about that severance package because we used it to do something.
Yeah, we did. So we were financially secure. I'm not the type of person, and I admire people who can do that, who just wanted to quit just to say we quit. I wanted to make sure that we were financially sound and we were still be able to, still live life as normal, pay our mortgage, pay our car notes, pay our utility bills, take care of our sons. So that's me. And that's why when he said, I didn't want to quit my job initially, because I didn't feel at that time we were financially secure enough for me to do that. But fast forward to not being able to go to Carnival and the severance package, that's when I felt more comfortable saying, yes, it's time to go. And, depend on me to make a living for myself.
Yeah. So once you got over the 2 weeks and then you were full-time agent.
What happened now?
So
I hired a coach. Shout out to Coach Tyrone Whitby, the best coach ever. So I connected with Tyrone, and actually he was my informal coach before I had even quit. And I realized it was time to buckle down. So I met with a coach. So I'm definitely going to say hiring a coach is important. And he started coaching me in the habits and the things I needed to do to really start operating my real estate business as a business and not as a side hustle or a hobby. The habits he actually taught me, I still have those habits today. So my mornings are dedicated to lead generating. And for those of you who don't know what lead generating is the time that I dedicate to go after new business. This is a habit I still have. This is something I do every morning, Monday to Friday. I would say 9 to 11. Back in the day, it used to be 8 to 11, but now I'm not doing 8 o'clock anymore. I'm doing 9 to 11. And the time after that, from 11 to 5, I would say 11 to 1 would be dedicated to meeting with my assistant or you to kind of catch up with you, because I know I didn't talk to you in the morning. And yes, that's something I definitely have to talk about. I did not talk to my husband before 11 o'clock in the morning. And he also knew that was the time I was making calls and generating new business. If he called me before 11 o'clock, I knew it was a true emergency. Otherwise, he wouldn't call me till after 11, or he knew he wouldn't hear from me until after 11 when I was done making those calls to generate business. So I would say 11 to 1 would be talking to my husband, catching up on administrative tasks. And then from 1 to 5, 1 to 6, or the latest 7 o'clock, I would be out on appointments, either showing homes or meeting with potential sellers who were interested in getting their home sold. So I kind of really stuck to a schedule. I had to stick to a schedule because I didn't have anyone telling me what to do. I could basically do what I want, but I needed to keep growing my business, and that's what I did.
So in all actuality, when the old job started, the new job really started, because now it's you, and it's a little bit different because it's nobody that's there to tell you, okay, you have to work, we need this, we need that done. Then at 12 o'clock, you go take a lunch. So then the ownership becomes on you, responsibility comes on you, everything is on you now, which is the hardest part of being self-employed. Is now everything is dependent on you, and there's nobody to tell you to do it other than you, which your mind will allow you to come up with a lot of creative things to do while you're sitting at home. You're supposed to be lead generating, but there's dishes in the sink. You're like, let me go and knock them out real quick. But that's not really how it works.
Well, actually, not even dishes in the sink. Your home, you can now watch all the TV shows, all the movies. You could talk on the phone with your girlfriend as long as you want. You don't have a supervisor looking at you and saying you're on the phone too much or anything like that. So once you become self-employed, you really now have to start creating, and not just start, also being really intentional on creating those habits and, that discipline in order to start building a real estate business. Because if you've never been free, like I've never been free, like I've always had a job until April 15th, 2015. So this was a whole new world to me. And I definitely have to give a shout out to my coach for helping me create those habits.
And how long you been self-employed?
Oh my goodness. I said April 15th, 2015, and we're here, June 2025. So 10 years.
10 years self-employed, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but still self-employed.
Still self-employed. So I've had my license since January 2012. And so I've had my license, 13 years? And I've been self-employed 10 years. Yeah, that's the math. And I'm sticking to it, even if it's off by a year or two.
So one of the things in this partnership and being self-employed and working with your spouse is a lot of trust and decisions. She came to me with that information. All right, I wanted to go. She said she wanted to go, but she wasn't really comfortable leaving yet. But for me, I trusted just the way that the business was going, that, all right, you can do it. So for you, when you did do it, even though you took the advice from me, you took the advice from your dad, go ahead and do it. When you actually did it, because even though it was your decision to go, you still mainly took the advice from us. So when you did it, do you have regrets about going self-employed because you've been getting a 2-week paycheck for the last, I don't know, how many years?
I had no regrets, none whatsoever. And I'm so happy you brought up my dad, because actually my dad was the final checkbox that I needed to check. So God rest his soul, I'll never forget, I called my father in Trinidad and I was like, Dad, I have X amount of dollars in the bank. My job just launched this severance package. I have this amount of business in the pipeline. Do you think I can be a full-time real estate agent? And I'll never forget, my father was like, why not? What's stopping you? And I was like, you're not scared? And what he said to me is, you have a bachelor's degree in accounting. You could always go get a job. Bet on yourself. So just those words of encouragement, and the fact he was like, why not? And the fact I do have a degree, I have a bachelor's degree from Howard University, HU, and that was the final check mark, just my dad's blessing and being like, take that leap of faith, go out there, because if I didn't, I would not know. And I think if I actually didn't leave my job, I would have regrets.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have been able to go to Carnival.
Y'all, he felt he couldn't believe that Carnival is where he made me be like, yeah, it's time to go.
I ain't gonna tell y'all how that whole thing went.
You could. It's 10 years later. They can't do nothing about it.
So she did go to Carnival, but when she came back, she had to get a doctor's note. So I'm gonna go to patient first and just go in there and get a doctor's note. So little did she know, she went in there. They hooked her up, the IVs and everything. She stayed in there so long just to go to Carnival. She was like, I was like, it was worth it though, huh?
And little known secret, I am terrified of needles. So when they were coming with this needle, they were like, Miss Taylor, you're saying you're sick. And I'm like, I'm not that sick to get a needle. All this. And little story, I did go to Carnival. I ran away. I called in sick and went to Carnival. That's what I did.
Was no stopping that Carnival.
It was no stopping that Carnival. I was determined to go to Carnival. You're bringing up some great memories, babe.
So in all that, in both instances, I had to trust that, because now we're in a household, I had to trust that she can leave her job and run this real estate business as if it was a job and still generate income.
And still take care of the household, my portion of the household.
Right.
But
go ahead.
But I want to ask you, how did that make you feel? I mean, you trusted me, but what was your perspective?
I mean, for me, I didn't care. You
didn't care.
I was already self-employed, and I had been self-employed for quite some time at that point. So for me, it was normal because I was already self-employed. So I was like, hey, you'll make more money if you don't do that based on the way the numbers look, because we was already making more money than what you was getting paid at work. Mm-hmm. Work became just a place to go at a certain point. So for me, it was like, all right, what's the worst that happened? You're going to fail.
Go get another job. But I'll never forget us having conversations, and we didn't even talk about this. Like in leaving the job, I was like, oh my gosh, benefits. I'm leaving my benefits. I'm leaving my health insurance. I'm leaving from K. I mean, these are the conversations we were having. And you were like, you could pay for private insurance. I was like, what do you mean you could pay for private insurance? And it just showed me how heavy into corporate America I was, in that I did not even know that there were private insurance options available. In fact, we're still with a private insurance company today, and they do a great job. I mean, is it expensive? Yes, I'm not going to lie. But if you're running a business and profitable, that becomes a negligible expense.
Yeah, and a lot of those things just becomes
excuses as to why you shouldn't leave.
There's nothing that's not obtainable if you doing what you're supposed to do. So they just become excuses. Oh, I can't do this because of that. Mm-hmm. I can't do that because of that. But I think too, it becomes a motivation factor too, if you know you need to make enough money, because you have to pay health insurance now, along with a lot of the other things that maybe your quote unquote 9 to 5 was giving you. So you was paying for it, but they made it look like they was paying for it, but you was paying for it.
Yeah. So that's something else I had to work through as well. After, of course, I said yes, they not let me go to Carnival, but I had to work through that. I have to get my own health insurance. I have to get my own dental insurance. I have to save on my own, not necessarily a 401k, but we have Roth IRAs. And just doing all those things that your job provided. But once again, I hired a financial advisor. That's someone else that came into our life to help with these decisions. So it is possible. It's just an adjustment and hiring the right people, but it can be done.
Yep. And then at the end, a trust factor, and I believe we will get into that part more in episode 3. But the severance money, we took that and invested that, and that's when we started our whole house flipping career. House flipping, and we'll go into the details and all of that in episode 3. I hope that you guys got a lot out of this in reference to the transition and partner trust and making decisions as a partnership and going full entrepreneur and just depending on yourself. You got anything?
I was just going to say, some of the takeaways I think from our conversation today should be, at least from my perspective, just make sure you have a decent saving. Look at your pipeline in your business, what you're about to do. Hire the right professionals, like for your insurance, to help you with your insurance and taxes, and to be able to save for your retirement and the future. And like you said, trusting your partner. I think that's the biggest thing, that you trusted me and I trusted you, because trust and support is really what's needed, especially if you're a couple that are both entrepreneurs.
Yeah, because some of them decisions be really big.
Yeah, and tough. So I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And once again, Donnell and I would love to hear if you have any ideas or anything you'd like for us to talk about. But we really felt it was important to talk about my transition from working in corporate America to becoming a full-time real estate agent and what that path looked like. And hopefully you won't let Carnival be one of your decisions.
Or maybe you will.
Or maybe you will if you're a Trini. So thank you for your time. Thank you for watching us. And look out for episode 3, where we get into how we started flipping houses.
See y'all next time.
Bye.